Today it's my pleasure to be with Bob Kerr. Hello Bob.
Hi Myrddyn, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Now the reason for being with Bob today, we're Marilyn bagging around mid Wales, but Bob is currently working his way through the highest point on each of the 7 continents, doing the 7 summits. But we may attempt to do future videos on each of Bob's trips to these amazing places around the world. But before that, we thought it'd be quite nice to do an introductory video purely about Bob and how he got into hill walking, that then leads on to the future videos that we plan to do. So if we do that, Bob, and possibly to lay a little bit of personal background about yourself, where did you grow up?
Yeah, I was born in Ayrshire in southwest Scotland, and I was raised in Troon, a nice little golfing village with brilliant views over to the Marl and Ailsa Craig, and went to primary and secondary schools there.
And what about the hills, your first experiences?
My first experience of the hills was a Marlin called Cairn Table, 1,945 feet high near Muirkirk. I'd never been up a hill before, and this was part of during my time in primary 7 of primary school. We went to an outdoor centre for a week, and on the Thursday we went up Cairn Table, and during that ascent I felt a little bit dizzy looking back down and thinking, that's not right, I should be walking up the hill and enjoying this, even though it's quite a lot of physical effort for somebody that's only 10 years old. But that was my introduction, and sort of a bit of a realisation that I had a little bit of a fear of heights. So when I joined secondary school, Mar College in Troon, I found out there was a hill walking club there. It was run by a physics teacher, Mr. Adams, and a geography teacher, Mr. Stewart. And they organised regular meets out on the hills for the school pupils. And I joined that club very much to begin to get over my fear of heights. And it started off with very simple, straightforward walks, such as in the Pentlands and the Galloway Hills. Did my first Munro with them, Ben Lomond, just north of Glasgow, and gradually did a bit more hill walking. One day I very much recollect going up the Cobbler and threading the needle and going along the little ledge there and up to the summit. I was roped up for that, and boy was it scary. But at a young age, you know, it gave me a real taste for adventure, and it's like, yeah, this is something that really gives you a buzz.
Now, as far as the age is concerned, Bob, you mentioned during that anecdote that I believe you were around 10 when you started discovering the hills. Yeah,
I was in the final month of being age 10 when I discovered the hills, and then just sort of one thing led to another. But
I also know by the age of 12 that you set yourself some lifetime ambitions, didn't you?
Yeah, at age 12 I set myself 3 life goals. The first one, to help overcome my fear of heights, was to climb Ben Nevis before I was age 16. Which I was able to achieve at age 14. Brilliant. The second goal I'd set myself was to climb Mont Blanc before I was age 30. I achieved that at age 29 and a half on my second attempt. And the third goal I set myself at age 12 was to climb Mount Everest before I'm age 50 and get back down alive.
So how old are you now?
I'm currently 34, so I've got 16 years to achieve my third life goal. Well, when I set these goals, I didn't know how I would achieve them. I didn't know how I'd get the money, how I'd get the experience, and life's been an adventure ever since setting those goals. Well,
concerning Everest, it's a future video for us, because I know next year you're booked up on a expedition, aren't you, to go out to the big hill?
Yeah, I'm booked. I've paid my deposit to go on an expedition to Everest on the north side. I haven't told my parents yet. Sorry, Mum. Maybe that's how you find out. But at this stage, it's all dependent on finance. So it may not happen next year, but I've got 16 years to achieve that goal, and I'm working towards trying to be in good physical shape to give it a really good crack next year.
Well, if I can just give a plug for Bob at this stage concerning Everest, and if anybody does see this interview, Bob's a fantastic chap. And if you fancy sponsoring him in any way, please contact him. So there's a little plug for you, Bob.
Thank you, Myrddyn.
But if we come back to the development of how you found the hills and sort of leading up to where you are now and the things that you do. So during the years leading up to your teenage years, you set yourself these 3 goals, and you've been up Ben Nevis. Now, how did that then progress? I believe you were a member of was it a hill walking club?
Well, at school I was a member of the Mar College Hill Walking Club, and the physics teacher, Mr Adams, who took us out on these hill walks, introduced me to abseiling, saying if I'm ever going to finish them in rows, I need to be able to do a little bit of rock climbing, a little bit of scrambling, and be able to abseil. So he introduced me to rock climbing and abseiling, and that really tested me against my fear of heights and really helped begin to overcome it. And with him we had our first experiences out in the Coolin Ridge, and we had many good adventures. After secondary school I kept developing my skills by joining the Aberdeen University Larrig Club, and regularly at weekends I'd go away hill walking, mountaineering and climbing and skiing. I ended up choosing my university, Aberdeen University, because of the hills. I could have possibly got into Oxford or Cambridge and worked away in the low-lying areas of England, but I thought university has to be a bit of fun. And I'd never done anything in the Cairngorms, and Aberdeen just cried out to me. There's sea cliffs all along the coast there, can go rock climbing after uni, or instead of going to uni. There's the Cairngorms there, whole new area which I hadn't done any mountaineering in, and there's 2 ski centres within about an hour or so's drive away. So as a outdoor enthusiast, it sort of leads to having great fun at university.
Now, you're also a member of a mountain rescue group, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a member of the Assynt Mountain Rescue Team. I joined the Assynt Mountain Rescue Team in 1999 when I moved up to the far north coast of Scotland for work. So I've been a member 12 and a half years now. I've undertaken some interesting roles, such as being training officer, and I've been a deputy team leader, and just being an ordinary team member out in the hills doing rescues, and that's taken me to some very wild, exciting places, such as I climbed the Old Man of Hoy back in the year 2000. I couldn't lead it, but I seconded it, and I needed a very tight rope.
Now, as far as the area of Assynt, you mentioned the far north of Scotland. You were telling me last night how large an area it is compared to the whole area of Scotland, but also some of the hills that are in that area. If you could just go through that, Bob, because that's quite fascinating.
Yeah, the Assynt Mountain Rescue Team cover all of Caithness and Sutherland, and there's no search and rescue teams further north than us other than Coast Guard teams, so sort of by default we sort of cover Orkney and Shetland, but we've never been called out to there. But it'd be great fun to occasionally have a bit more experience up there. But in terms of the Assynt patch, the main area, Caithness and Sutherland, it's a very vast area, open, sort of very few people live up there, and the mountain rescue team's very small. There's only about 25 members covering an area, might be about a fifth of Scotland, and we've got lots of varying terrain. We've got impressive mountains such as Sullivan, Stack Polly, Benmore Assynt, Foinaven, Arkle, Ben Hope, Ben Clebrek, and over to Caithness, Morven and Scarabin, and just a wide range of terrain. We've got about 85 Marilyns in our patch, and I'm one of the few members that's done the majority of them. I've still got a few left to do out in Cape Wrath, but I'll get that tidied up soon.
Well, you mentioned the Marilyns, Bob, and that now leads us on to hill listings and going out to bag them. Now, of course, the most well-known listing in Scotland are the Munros.
Yeah.
And I believe you've completed those.
Yeah, I completed the Munros in December 2004 on Ruistack Moor of Ben in perfect winter conditions, and there was 9 of us summited. One person, complete stranger, never met before, was staying at the bunkhouse and said we were going up, and he just joined us, and that was his first Munro in pure winter conditions.
Now, you've also mentioned the Marilyns.
Mm-hmm.
What is your current count?
With this Marylyn I've just done in mid Wales, I'm now sitting at 709 Marilyns, and I'm over 50% of the way through the Scottish Marilyns.
So, well, congratulations on firstly completing the Munros and also your Marilyn count. And we're actually just below the summit of Moyle y Golfa, part of the Brython Hills, just outside of Welshpool. Are you tempted by the Corbettes, or are you working through those at all?
I've done about 2/3 of the Corbettes, and I'm very keen to finish them. I've been finding the Corbettes are a much harder hill list than the Munros. It's very hard to combine multiple Corbettes in one day, and a lot of them are more remote and there's less paths on them. So they're a great challenge, and I'm continuing to enjoy them.
And you were also mentioning to me earlier on that you've done quite a few of your second round of the Munros as well.
Yeah, I've probably done about 1/3 of the Munros for at least a second time.
Yeah.
The likes of Ben Hope, I've given up counting how many times I've been up that, because it's one of my peaks that I use for training for the bigger mountains. So I do loads carries up it. It's just sort of training.
Now, as far as the introductory part is concerned, Bob, we're sort of just coming towards the end of that. But what we must lead into are future videos, and they're going to concentrate on each of the high point of the 7 summits. But just as a little brief explanation leading into those future videos, how did that all start, Bob? How did that happen? The sort of the ambition or the impetus to go out and start doing something like that?
Yeah, well, in 2004, I'd had the great opportunity to go over to Greenland and made first ascent of some mountains over in Greenland and climbed the highest points in the Arctic. And I'd just come back from Greenland, and I was at mountain rescue training exercise, having a few beers afterwards with a nice bonfire, and the deputy team leader at the time, Mark Campbell, said that he was thinking of planning a trip to Kilimanjaro. I was just back from Greenland, and what do I do next? You know, I've got these lifetime goals at the back of my mind, of Mont Blanc and Everest, and it's like, Kilimanjaro, that's a big mountain. It's at that stage, the only folk that I'd heard going up it were really experienced mountaineers. Nowadays celebrities and others do it, but to me it was just like, wow, Kilimanjaro, can I actually do that? It's a really big mountain, over 5,800 metres, and I had no previous experience at altitude. The highest I'd been at that stage was 2,200 metres in Norway. Sorry, no, it was Greenland, 3,693 metres, Gunbjorn Feld. So Mark suggested it, and he was suggesting going in January, so 6 months later. It's like, yeah, let's go for it. Why not? If you never try, you'll never know if you can do it. And it was a great introduction to going out for high altitude peaks. So as it turns out, I finished the Munros on the 18th of December 2004, and my next mountain after finishing the Munros was Kilimanjaro. So I moved from one list to the next to start the 7 summits.
Well, again, as I've mentioned once or twice, that will be for future videos. But possibly one last question, Bob, because you've obviously got an adventurous spirit that is taking you to many parts of the world. How do you do that concerning your job?
It can be challenging at times with employment. You need to work to be able to earn some money to pay for trips, and sometimes you need a very understanding employer. I try to be very efficient with my leave. I plan well ahead and tell my employers I'm looking for this block of leave. I may have the Greenland trip. I took some unpaid leave because I needed some time for training over in the Alps in Norway, learning to cross-country ski and things like that. But for one of my expeditions, I ended up doing that in between jobs. And now I've gone to the ultimate extreme. I'm now self-employed. So my boss is quite understanding with my goals now.
And as far as employment is concerned, what do you specialise in?
I specialise in radiation protection and radioactive waste management, and it's quite a specialist niche field. And so I'll do a wee plug for my business, if that's okay, Myrddyn. I work for a small consultancy called RP Alba Limited, which stands for Radiation Protection Scotland Limited, or you could see it as Rural Peaks Scotland Limited, if you wanted to put a different slant on it, because I also hold a Summer Mountain Leader certificate and a Single Pitch Award, so I could technically take you out and do a bit of mountaineering in Scotland if you like.
Well, Bob, it's been fascinating hearing how you got into the hills and your enjoyment that you've experienced through doing that. And I have to admit, I'm really, really looking forward to the future videos with you, just concentrating on each of these very high mountains, the high point in each of the 7 continents. So Bob Kerr for now, great pleasure meeting you, and many, many thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Myrddyn.